Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. And yes, we know the Philly season's over. It's time to try and pick up the pieces, I suppose. We're going to discuss the end-of-year press conferences that were had by Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson and things they said. And we're also going to jump into the big storylines to watch for this offseason. I also owe y'all out there a big thank you, and I want to do that this episode as well. Plenty to get into in today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that good stuff. Locked On Phillies is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's been a rough week, folks. Since last Tuesday, Game 7, it's been a struggle. It doesn't help. I had to fight off a little bit of a cold this weekend, so I've been sick. Been disappointed in the Phillies, just been flat out really in a bad mood for about 6-7 days now. So we're going to fight through it, though. The Phillies are going to come out on the other side of this, I promise. Right now, it sucks. It's going to suck. That Game 6 and Game 7 loss combo is going to hurt us for probably the rest of our lives. It's terrible. It's a really bad way for the season to end, but you have to move on and pick up the pieces. I'm not really feeling any better, but it is what it is. The Phillies, unfortunately, eliminated. And now we've got to try and figure out what happened and how you can build on this and hopefully finish the job next year. It sucks. Like, baseball is such a tough season, the toughest season, in my opinion, to have one of these exits in. Basketball, hockey, you got 82 games, which feels like a lot, but not compared to the 162 that baseball plays. Football, 17 games. I know it's a long season because they're weekly, but still. Baseball is just this drag of a season. There's such a long, drawn-out marathon feel to it to get to the end or near the end and come up small like that. It hurts. It sucks. It makes you feel like you wasted your summer and your time and everything. And trust me, the players are feeling the same way. The manager's feeling the same way. The front office is feeling the same way. A lot of folks are very broken up about the way this Philadelphia Phillies season ended. So if you're feeling that way, trust me, you're not alone. There's millions of Phillies fans that feel the same way. I feel it. The organization feels it. It sucks. It doesn't help us feel any better, but just know that this isn't just something that you're dealing with by yourself. Like, I talked about this on air. I do work on 97.5 The Fanatic over on the radio side. That's my full-time job. I was going to say day job, but I work nights now. You can hear me 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on there. And I talked about it, and I don't mean this in jest. Like, this is a tough thing mentally to get over. If you're a Phillies fan, I understand you're hurting right now. This sucks. This is a tough way to end. A lot of people invest a lot of money and time into this team, and to come up short like that and to collapse in a big spot at home, it sucks. It really hurts. So I feel you. I'm here to continue putting out content for you as we try and move past it. I know it's a tough time right now to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan. They're going to be competitive again. They're going to have a good team next year. They're going to continue to build on this, but it sucks saying that now, still in the rather immediate wake of an NLCS loss. Yeah, it's tough. Now, Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson, they talked last week about just the season in general. They had their end of year, their exit interviews, what they're called, end of year press availability, where you don't really hear from Dave Dombrowski often. And Rob Thompson, when you hear from him, it's mainly talking about a game that just happened or a game about to happen. So this was interesting. And you got a little bit of a glimpse into what they think went wrong and what you think they need to do better going forward. And this is from Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson. Now, Rob Thompson, the first one, some interesting things. The most interesting thing I think Rob Thompson said was he had an answer where he was talking about things he's learned. And he was talking about reevaluating the handling of the bullpen. And also how he handles the lineup, thinking that over again. I think that he was a little too stubborn, might not be the right word with the lineup, but too complacent with the lineup, expecting guys to hit their way out of it. And it sounds like he realized that as well. And he brought up in his end-of-year media availability, considering changing the lineup more often or being more flexible with the lineup or how he handles that. I do believe, looking back, if he had this series to do over again, he would switch the lineup up. Arizona was switching lineups left and right. The Phillies had the same lineup for all 7 games of the NLCS, and it didn't get the job done. I think that stagnancy played a little bit of a hand in the lack of production by the offense in the final 2 games. Now, your big-time players got to hit, right? Your big-time players have to come through and play, and that's why they're getting paid the big money. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that was the sentiment from Rob Thomson and Dave Dombrowski. Like, you got to hit, and you got to show up and make big plays and big moments, and the Phillies just didn't do that. But it was nice to hear Rob Thomson talk about his handling of the bullpen and his handling of the lineup, and acknowledging that those are things he's probably going to take a look at over the offseason. So I appreciate that from Rob Thomson. And I brought this up a couple times before on here, this sentiment, not exactly in this instance, but there are organizations across sports, and certainly across baseball, where they're going to pretend like nothing's wrong. They think everything's fine, and they'll just say, we've got this handled, and they'll move on. And they'll continue to make the same mistakes. It might sound crazy, but no, that happens. It happens around sports in general. There will be coaches, GMs, owners that'll just be like, I believe in the process we have here and stuff like that. It's nice to hear Rob Thomson acknowledging that there are things he needs to look at, because some other managers, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, I'm just saying there are other managers around baseball that would not have done the same thing, that would not have been as open about, okay, I need to work on this, I need to do this. So it's good to see him coming to terms with some things he needs to get better at. Now, will he get better at them? That's on him to evaluate that properly over the offseason. But it's already a step in the right direction that he's thinking about it. Now, on Dave Dombrowski's front, he went out and he was talking about that he liked the pitching that they had and the starters and the bullpen and everything like that, but it just they got to produce in big moments and the hitting and everything. Like, he seemed content with where the roster had been for this season, but he did not seem content that this roster was going to just be run back next year and have a different result. So he talked about, the number one thing he talked about that I picked up on was the Aaron Nola situation. And he said he was actually quite glowing in his review of Aaron Nola and saying that he wants him back and he's a Philly and all this stuff. He's done great stuff for the organization. Now, it's going to depend on price point. It's going to depend where you end up as far as his value versus what the team's willing to pay. And that was the holdup in this preseason, or I guess the spring training, when they were working towards a contract extension. Never quite got that close and never got the deal done. You got to find a middle ground on that. Now, will Aaron Nola be willing to compromise, or will the Phillies be able to pay more than what they were willing to pay this spring training, this past offseason, to try and lock down Aaron Nola? I don't know, but Dave Dombrowski said if you don't bring Aaron Nola back, their number one focus is going to bringing in another top-level starting pitcher. You see the type of impact they make in the postseason. That was not lost on Dave Dombrowski. The number one focus on this team is starting pitching this offseason. And they had good starting pitching in the postseason. They really had one bad start, and it was Aaron Nola's start in Game 6. And even that you could overcome. It wasn't like a complete blow-up. It just wasn't. It gave momentum away in that game. But I don't put too much of this series on him. I mean, heck, I put more of it on the bullpen. Well, not the bullpen, but Craig Kimbrell and Rob Thompson's handling of that, and your top stars that didn't show up offensively than I do Aaron Nola. So take that for what it's worth. But Dave Dombrowski seems focused on trying to bring Aaron Nola back. And if that does not work out because of money and contract time and just the general specifics of it, they're going to, it sounds like, aggressively pursue some top available starting pitchers. Now, who are those guys? We'll see as the offseason continues on. Maybe there'll be opportunities to make moves for trades, but free agency is going to be interesting. Of course, throughout the offseason, we'll be breaking down the latest news and rumors. I'll get together a list of the guys that I'd want to see them go after. I haven't gotten to that point yet because we're so new in. The World Series still going on and everything like that. But that was my biggest takeaway from Dave Dombrowski's press conference. It also sounds like that Rhys Hoskins, I would lean towards him not being back just based on the tone of some of Dombrowski's answers on that. And I also would take a look at what you're seeing as far as Johan Rojas playing center field. He needs to develop a lot more of an offensive side of his game if he's going to be a big part of this team going forward. That was another clear thing as well. So a couple of those things to look at for players that could be leaving or in the minors or however you see it come next season. Maybe there's an opening in the outfield. But right now, it seems like from the comments that Dave Dombrowski's main focus and the Phillies' main focus this offseason is going to be in the sphere of starting pitching. And I get that because starting pitching is paramount come postseason. You saw it this year with the Philadelphia Phillies, and I think they should focus on that again. So that was just the general sentiments they were tossing out there. Now, coming up, I'm going to outline some of the big storylines for the Philadelphia Phillies offseason. We've touched on some of them a little bit, but this is basically your blueprint of what to keep an eye on as the Philadelphia Phillies head into the 2023-2024 offseason. And there are some certainly interesting ones, especially for a team with expectations as high as this team is going to have going into next season. We'll discuss as we continue Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about Ibotta. How does free Thanksgiving sound? Doesn't that sound nice? I mean, dude, it's getting on you quick. Halloween's tomorrow, and Thanksgiving is right around the corner. It would be great to just have that meal completely paid for. You know how expensive it is to put that on, especially you got relatives and stuff coming in? Well, this year, Ibotta is here to give you cash back and help make sure your Thanksgiving table is complete, because who wants turkey without the gravy? That's a great line in there. I mean, starting November 1st, for the fourth year in a row, Ibotta is giving 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. It's perfect. Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipt, and Ibotta will take care of the rest. They give you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care, pantry goods, all that good stuff. So you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points, and those don't ever amount to much. I mean, when do you ever use points for anything? You don't go to the store and pay in points. No, you go to the store and you pay in cash. Or you use that cash and you put it on your card and you pay that way. Well, Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can also earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers. So download the Ibotta app now and use code MLB to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner starting November 1st. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code MLB. All right, the big storylines to watch for the Philadelphia Phillies this offseason. Number one is obviously the status of Aaron Nola. Will he be back? Will he be gone? It'll be in free agency. They'll try to come to terms on a contract, but there's no guarantees at all. We know they had trouble this offseason coming to terms on one. That's why Aaron Nola played this year without a contract extension that there were hopes he would get this past offseason. And after a tumultuous 2023 regular season and a strong 2023 postseason, who knows what's going on with Aaron Nola and his value and what other teams might be willing to pay him. But he's a guy that's going to be top of the list for things to watch for the Philadelphia Phillies. Will Aaron Nola be back? Will he not be? I'll tell you what, my feeling right now as I sit here, I think he will end up being back. I think the Philadelphia Phillies are going to find a way to bring Aaron Nola back to this team. I do. Do I think that's the right move? That's a deeper discussion. But I think that's the goal, and I think Aaron Nola will want to be here, and I think they're going to find a way to make that work. That's just my feeling right now. It's not based on any reports or anything. It's just a guess. But on what Dave Dombrowski said, his comments and everything, and end-of-year availability, it sounds like there's a real goal to bring Aaron Nola back here and a real desire to keep him as part of this organization. We'll see if that was just posturing by Dave Dombrowski, but I'm leaning towards he's back. That's number one storyline. Number two storyline, Rhys Hoskins. I know a lot of people forgot about Rhys because of the season-ending ACL surgery, and it's hard to evaluate a player coming off of a major knee surgery like that. He could be back on a one-year deal, one of those Scott Boras deals. He does it all the time. Player has some issue, down year, gets hurt or whatever. They sign a one-year contract. They go out and prove it. They get big money the next time out. It could be Rhys Hoskins back on a one-year deal, but he's no longer under contract now that the season's over. Could he be leaving to go somewhere else in his first stint in free agency, or will the Philadelphia Phillies look to bring him back? I mean, that question is so deep in the evaluation of it, and in a different way than Nola's. Nola's is basically, how much money is he going to want? Is it worth the amount of production you get from him? Hoskins is totally different. It's money, it's production, but it's also positioning. Is he going to play first base next year, or is Bryce Harper? Is his defense better than Bryce Harper's, or do you like what you saw from Harper and do you not need him with the addition of Trey Turner? And if Trey Turner plays a full year like he ended this past year, You make up those numbers from Rhys Hoskins. Could Bryce Harper play right field again, opening up that spot at first base? But then where does Nick Castellanos go? There's a lot to be figured out as far as where he fits. Like Aaron Nola would slot into a spot in the rotation. No problem. You move on if you sign him. Like you just, okay, Aaron Nola, we know where he's going to be. Rhys Hoskins, I don't know how he fits into this team's plans playing-wise, much less contract-wise. Because of all of that, I lean towards Rhys Hoskins actually not being back next year, which would suck because I love Rhys Hoskins. I know he's a big part of that clubhouse. It's such a shame that he wasn't a part of the team this year because of the injury. And he worked really hard to try and get back for a potential World Series run. But Rhys Hoskins is going to be very interesting how that plays out and the value he'll command and what he'll be looking for. Will it be a one-year deal? Will it be long-term in spite of his major injury that he suffered with the ACL tear? Like, there are a lot of different factors to consider when it comes to Rhys Hoskins. So those are the big two. Number 3, this is the third one. Bryce Harper's future as a position player. Does he move back to right field? Does he play first base? That's basically the two options, right? But they have interesting ramifications. If he goes to right, the outfield now shifts around a whole bunch. And you also have a need at first base. Who plays first base? Would it be Rhys Hoskins or would it be bringing in somebody else? That could open up another big signing if you want to go after a big-time first baseman. But then the guy who's been playing right field for you, Nick Castellanos, what does he do? Does he shift to left and Marsh plays center? Is Rojas back up with the team? Like, Bryce Harper and where he's playing is going to be something that has to be figured out quickly by the Philadelphia Phillies because it's basically opening the blueprint for your needs at positions for hitters. That's a huge storyline and one that there were kind of conflicting feelings on it. Bryce Harper's going to have some say in where he's going to play, but Dave Dombrowski made it sound a lot like they're going to tell Bryce Harper where they want him to play. So I think the Phillies are going to evaluate where they need Bryce and put him where they do. And Harper's a team player. Like, he's an athlete. He can handle whatever. He seemed more than willing to help this team win in any way possible. So I don't imagine it causing any trouble. It's just something that'll be interesting to see how the Philadelphia Phillies choose to handle this. Now, if he ends up playing right field and Brandon Marsh is trusted to play left field in an everyday capacity next year, Kyle Schwarber DHs, and Rojas finds a way to play center, well, Nick Castellanos is an odd man out there. And he just had an all-star season, and he's got some time left on his deal. Could we be seeing, this is number 4, a trade for one of the outfielders? Could it be Kyle Schwarber? Could it be Nick Castellanos? How does that work out? I don't think it'll be Schwarber because that DH spot, he's so valuable in it. But could Nick Castellanos be traded this offseason? Or could you be looking at something where one of the starting pitchers are moved, where you look to do that to now, the funny thing is the trade of Castellanos, or maybe Castellanos and prospects or whatever, would probably be for starting pitching. So I don't know that you'd trade one of your starting pitchers, but Castellanos, keep an eye on him. I don't know that he'll be traded. I don't think that he'll be traded, but I do think that it'll be a consideration for the Philadelphia Phillies as they prepare for the 2024 season. Just because of the stack up they have for guys that can play out there, the value currently of Nick Castellanos, the contract status, and the opportunity to potentially buff your team in a place they can use it, which is pitching. You can never have enough pitching. You can certainly have too many outfielders. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm not saying by any means I want Nick Castellanos moved. I think he had a great year. I think he was probably the most consistently good player on this team as far as position players are concerned. And he's a guy that I'd like to have back. But if you can move him for a valuable pitcher, we'll see. And the one other storyline, Zach Wheeler, a potential extension. He's earned every penny of any amount of money you want to pay him. This would be a good time to extend him because he's showing no signs of slowing down. The Phillies need to be smart and do what the Mets were not capable of doing when they had Zach Wheeler. They let him get to free agency. You shouldn't do that. The Phillies should look to re-sign Zach Wheeler, and that could be coming this offseason too, a contract extension. He's not up on contract, but you can offer him an extension, obviously, and see if he's willing to take that. So I expect that to be another storyline as well. So those are the big ones. There are also going to be some smaller ones that pop up throughout the offseason that we'll get into as they rear their heads, but that's basically the focus points of the Phillies offseason. What do you do there? Things to keep an eye on. Coming up, as we wrap up Locked On Phillies, there's one more thing I'd like to do in today's episode. And, I just show a big thank you. I'll do that for you on the other side here on Locked On Phillies. All right. Next, I want to tell you about Jase Medical. Okay. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You don't want deadly bacterial infections. They're deadly. They're bad for you. Okay. You want to avoid that. You can also do this, though, right? You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. Let's say you're allergic to something. Like, you can go ahead and add something in there that helps you with that. If you have specific medical needs, customization is available. I should say. Actually finish your words, Connor. Yeah, Jace Medical is awesome because it offers the Jace case that I was telling you about. And it's important in life to try and be as prepared as you can for anything that could pop up medically. You don't want to be in a medical emergency and not have access to the medication you need. The Jace case takes care of that. You can carry it around with you all the time. You can have those 5 life-saving antibiotics available to you in a pinch when you need them. It could be the difference between life and death. It really could be. And Jace Medical wants everybody to be able to take care of themselves in the unknown. So that's why it's so key to take advantage of this. And all it takes to get a Jace case is to fill out a simple online form. And in some cases, you'll jump on a call with one of their board-certified physicians. You can also get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment-related questions. It's doctor-created and doctor-recommended. The Jace case is absolutely awesome. So you're going to want to go ahead and check out everything there that they have available. So let me just go ahead and read you this. Go to jasemedical.com. That's how you get it. Jase Medical. That's Jase Medical.com. And enter code LOCKEDON at checkout. And you'll get a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. Go ahead and check out our friends over at Jase Medical. All right, just want to wrap up with this. It's been an outstanding year on Locked On Phillies. I know the season didn't end the way us Phillies fans wanted it to. Should be in the World Series right now. I know. I'm as broken up about it as everybody else out there. It's killing me. I swear I'm sick. Like, I've been fighting this cold off because of just how much heartbreak I have over the Philadelphia Phillies. It sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing we can do as fans. And, I mean, even the players at this point, season's over. There's no taking it back. We'll think about it for a long, long time. But we're going to continue to work here on Locked On Phillies, pick up the pieces, put out good content for you, head towards the offseason and take care of all of our business as we should to bring you great content on the Philadelphia Phillies. But I want to thank you all, each and every one of you. If you've listened to even a second of one episode at any point throughout this year, throughout this season, it was an awesome season. We hit new highs in subscribers, in video views, in podcast streams, in everything, basically. Social media interaction, social media followers. It was another banner year for Locked On Phillies. This thing continues to grow, and it's thanks to you out there, all of you great Philadelphia Phillies fans. I really appreciate each and every one of you who's tuned in to Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much. Without you, I'm just some guy shouting Phillies nonsense off into space. You're the reason that I get a chance to do this for a living. I appreciate each and every one of you very, very much. Thank you for playing along with all the dumb stuff I did with, like, the victory shirt and all the dumb tweets I send out and everything. Like, I love the Philadelphia Phillies, and it's great that you out there love them as much as I do. And I appreciate you taking the time to rate and review and subscribe and all that stuff you did to help keep Locked On Phillies reaching new heights. Thank you so much. Really, from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. Years ago, like a couple years ago, I was selling mortgages, not talking sports for a living. Now I have a successful radio career, TV appearances, do stuff with Bleacher Report. Obviously, you're host of Locked On Phillies, and I get to do this podcast like 5 times a week for you throughout the course of the season. It's awesome that I get to do this, and it's a huge thank you to you out there who listen and watch and all of that great stuff and just support in general. So I want to thank you. I know the season did not end, again, the way we wanted it to, but I couldn't have asked for a better year on Locked On Phillies when it comes to your support. So I appreciate that very much. And now we head into the offseason. And the goal is, when the calendar flips to 2024, we go out and we break every damn record on Locked On Phillies that we set this year. We're going to do that. I'm going to only be able to do it with your help. So please continue to support. I promise. I know it might be bleak right now with the way the season ended, but you were one of the top 4 teams in baseball. Really, one of the top 3 teams in baseball, because the Astros stink. No, but you were one of the top 4 teams in baseball, and you should be proud of the way the team played, proud of the season we had, and I'm certainly proud for the amount of support that you guys have given me. Thank you so much. And, I just felt it important to say that to all of you. So I appreciate you. and we'll continue to put out great content for you. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out here on Locked On Phillies, and I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.